Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this edition of News You Can Use. I'm your host, Thera Martin Milling, and I am delighted to be with you today. We're going to take the next 27, 28 minutes or so to shine the spotlight on a very important discussion as well as a very important man. The guest is Reverend Dr. Robert P. Shine, the pastor of Berachah Baptist Church. He also holds several titles with several nonprofit organizations. But we want to talk to him today about the aftermath of this year's presidential election and what he thinks we can look forward to in 2017. He'll also give us some inspirational, motivational thoughts, some Christ-like thoughts, if you will, to help us carry out this year and into the new year. So that's what we're going to do on this edition of News You Can Use. We'll be back with Reverend Robert Shine in just a moment. Hello, everybody. We are back again. And if you just turned your television set on, let me tell you, you are now watching a program called News You Can Use on Comcast 56 and Verizon Fios Channel 36. And it comes out of LaSalle TV. We thank God for LaSalle TV. I'm the host, Thera Martin Milling. And today on the program, we're taking the entire show to talk to Reverend Dr. Robert P. Shine. He is the pastor of Berachah Baptist Church. He's a past president of the Black Clergy of Philadelphia and vicinity. And he holds important titles with several other great organizations, some of them city-wide, statewide, and some at the national level. So we appreciate you, Reverend Shine, for coming. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Thera, for having me.
And it's nice to have somebody come who's been here before. You know the setup, you know the studio. I think this will be your third or fourth time over the years of coming on the program. Yeah, well, I thank you for being available today. Wanted to talk to you, first of all, about this general election that we just came out of. One of the last shows that I taped, the election hadn't happened yet, and we were taping, and the next day the show was going to start running, so we didn't know what to really say. Well, now we know what to say. The results have come in, and Donald Trump is the president-elect. I've been hearing a myriad of emotions about this election, how things turned out, whether people are happy or not happy with the results. As a pastor, as somebody who travels all the time across the nation and outside the country, tell us about some of the things that you're hearing and what your vision is. And I would also say to our viewing audience, this show for me is like a revisit to the prophetic voice. So while we may call this News You Can Use, it's connected to the prophetic voice today coming out of Reverend Robert Shine.
Well, Thera, thank you for having me once again. I'm delighted to be here. Post the election, I myself personally had some astonishing feelings and emotions about the outcome of the election. But from the faith community's perspective, our role is to lead the people into a more common, and not only common, but calmer frame of mind, because the election now being over and President-elect Mr. Trump is now our CEO of the nation, and he is the commander-in-chief of our military. He is the chief executive officer of our diplomacy. So he wears at least 4 or 5 hats, and our responsibility is to be supportive of those who are in leadership authority. And so our prayers are for Mr. Trump, and we are engaged in making sure that our colleagues across the nation clearly in the faith community clearly understand what our role is as religious leaders.
Okay.
So,
And of course, that is the responsible response. And I believe that you actually mean it. I know there's some people who are going to do lip service right now, and they're going to say what the politically correct thing is to say. But I believe that you mean it. And I've heard some other people speak similarly to you. And I think that that is right at this point. What else can we do? Fair is fair. We live in a democratic society. At the end of the day, you can like the way we do the electoral votes or not, but Trump is the winner. And so are we going to tear this president-elect down, or are we going to try to be supportive? I think we better try to be supportive as we can be.
Yes, one of the things that just recently occurred in Montgomery County, where my grandchildren are students, was that a young student invited my grandson to wear a T-shirt. And on the front of the T-shirt were the words, "Black Life Matters." I mentioned that simply because my grandson was asked to remove the T-shirt because it was unacceptable. The principal of the school, the faculty, families, and about 7 or 8 clergymen met. And the outcome of that discussion was overwhelming. And the interesting thing about it is that all life matters.
Sure.
The police life matters, whatever ethnic group you belong to,
Right.
all life matters.
All life
and the
matters.
faith community must uphold a standard of all life matters. The outcome of that meeting that the principal held reflects on how we should look at America going forward under the new president. And that the issues with which we are mostly concerned about are the issues that every American is concerned about. They are these, very briefly. There are education, good job, health, homes, and justice. Every American is concerned about those basic 5 concerns. And so we anticipate that as we look at the candidates for the cabinet of the president, that, and we do our own personal vetting
Yes.
on our level. These are the needs that that all of us are concerned. The demonstrations, protests are good,
Yes.
but alternatives are better. And so to meet and to discuss alternatives, as was the case at my grandson's school, what are some of the alternatives that we can face the issues of race, face the issues of economics, face the issue of justice? How can we resolve these amicably for all concerned? And I believe it can be done at the local, state, and federal level. And I'm looking forward to being surprised once more that what may have been apprehensive prior to will now result in Mr. Trump being a better president than what we anticipated, and our anxiety level was raised so high. But now I think we move forward, and we can do that when we are united together.
Let me ask you this question. And by the way, we're talking with Reverend Dr. Robert P. Shine. He's the pastor of Berachah Baptist Church here in the West Oak Lane section of Philadelphia. People during the campaign process, everybody, including myself, was, oh, this is such a divisive campaign. I don't like the ugliness and the calling of names of each other. The debates were, I didn't like any of that part. But at the end of the day, along the way, as the campaign was going on, did you feel confident that perhaps a Hillary Clinton was going to be the winner hands down, or did you have some thoughts that it could go either way?
I never had the slightest apprehension that she would not be. So I was shocked with the outcome, but the outcome given what it turned out to be, it was now to put away our banners, our rhetoric, to put away all of our paraphernalia and move full steam ahead in bringing America back to its prominence, bringing America back to its status in the world. The world's eyes were upon America, and still, I am a fervent believer that we are created by God, and all of us, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There you go.
And that is the motif by which that we will go for. We will still carry the American flag
That's
as
right.
well as the Christian flag. We will still parade. We don't have to demonstrate. We can activate the communities, and then we can rebuild, reestablish, and once we find that we can have better education and then get a good job, purchase a good house, have good health insurance,
The American dream.
and then all can secure justice for all, we'll have the American dream realized.
Yeah.
And so that would be the way, and that would be what we will be espousing now and going forward.
Okay.
I will be leaving for a conference of African American clergy in Atlanta, Georgia, on Sunday evening.
Wow.
And this will be the discussion. There will be additional discussions from the African American community that what is needed is what the president will need, but what President Obama did not have. When it was said that by those in Congress and the Senate that we will oppose everything that he proffers, but that's no justification for America to suffer the loss of another president. And so moving forward with all the negativity in the air, it will calm down.
It will calm down. Thank God. It will calm down. Reverend Shine is our guest, and he's with us for the whole show today. So we're going to take a break and share some important announcements with you. And when we come back, we'll continue talking with Reverend Shine. One of the things we're going to hit on when we come back is to talk about how we motivate and encourage young people in particular to vote and to believe in the political process, even if on their first vote with this past general election we just came out of, maybe they didn't get the candidate that they wanted, but how do we keep them motivated? So he'll tell us how when we come back. Stay with us.
A prayer to St. Clair, the patron saint of television.
O wondrous St. Clair, I ask that you bless my television with good reception and good color balance.
I also ask for your assistance in choosing quality programs that provide me with endless hours of enlightening entertainment.
Amen.
Your prayers have been answered. You're watching LaSalle TV.
You know you watch.
Chris Domine is a husband and a father. Chris is an athlete. Chris is even an Iron Man. But 10 years ago, Chris was facing a very different story because his kidneys were failing.
Basically, the doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant and if you don't do dialysis, you are going to die.
Fortunately, Chris received a second chance at life, made possible by an organ donor.
You know, your well-being changes, you know, from loss of hope to better times ahead.
More than 100 million people in America are registered organ, eye, and tissue donors. People of every age and ethnicity, because they believe it's the right thing to do. Imagine what you could make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Hello again, everybody. If you are just turning your television set on, you're watching News You Can Use here at LaSalle TV. It's broadcast on Comcast Channel 56 and on Verizon Fios Channel 36, and we're so appreciative of the opportunity to do this show. Today, however, I kind of feel like it's not News You Can Use so much as it is the prophetic voice, and that's the name of a program that Reverend Shine used to host on radio, and I'm still believing that show's going to come back, maybe to radio and cable TV too. Hopefully. It was a great show, the prophetic voice, and you're sharing with us today. We're talking about the election, and I like everything that you said in the first segment. Bottom line, if I could cut down what he said to a few sentences, it would be like, everybody okay, get over it. The election has come and gone now. If we're Americans, and we're Americans, we're going to get behind our president and support him as best we can, and keep praying for this country, and at the same time, each individually keep working for our goals to do what we need to do.
Yes, and as far as you mentioned a moment or so ago about the millennials, and I have spoken to groups of millennials. As a matter of fact, I attended a meeting in Norristown on behalf of another group that emanated out of Florida. And but there was another organization that was mobilizing millennials, and I was very happy to work with him, and then the other young lady from Florida was very happy to work with the millennials. One thing I learned in our meeting was there was those who are called old heads, OGs, and elderly. And so I asked them what was an OG. In some instance they said old gangster. But what I learned from that expression was that the OGs were the elder statesmen of our community who had earned the respect and were revered by the younger people. That's what they meant by OGs. I was astonished that I fell into the category of the OGs.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I mean, to say that I had earned the respect of the millennial, I had earned the respect and reverence of young people in our community. And so I was happy to hear that I was an old gangster. But you know, that language of the millennials is quite interesting. But I feel as though this is the largest group, larger than the boomers, and as a consequence, I think America is in for a revival of what all of our sacred documents, almost sacred documents, call for. Whether it's in the one of the documents that I cherish more than others, and of course I cherish all of them, is the Gettysburg Address. but the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, these almost sacred documents speaks volumes and to the millennials. And I believe that in that revival effort that will spring forth as a result of this post-election, I think we're going to see America live out all of its dreams and aspirations, because the youth who in our history have led a lot of the revolutions for change. And I think we saw evidence of that in the Obama run, in both of his campaigns. And he did something quite spectacular. And I think the youth have caught on to that, and they're ready to carry the ball into the future. And so...
but you're talking about the smart thinking millennials.
Yes,
maybe I shouldn't have put it like that, because I don't mean to offend anybody, but people who may have voted for the first time on November the 8th of this year, in that general election, and maybe, let's say, they voted for Hillary, or they wanted Bernie Sanders and they felt forced to vote for Hillary because Bernie was off the ballot, and they were angry the day after, and they're saying things like, I'll never vote again because it doesn't matter anyway, my vote doesn't count. What do you say to somebody who's talking like that to get them to turn that attitude around?
There is, unfortunately, that mindset. But I think, as we have often and commonly said, this too will pass. I believe that as they mature, and as the government unfolds under this new administration, and they realize that two things might necessarily need to happen. One, that they become more politically engaged, more politically aware, and more politically participate in the national or in the state or in the local arena of politics. I think the offerings that our young people have now may be more sensible, because they are pulled together. And it's not going to be someone, it's going to be a collective of minds. And they're going to develop their own think tank of shaping America. And I'm counting, as a senior in America, leaving a legacy that they can build on, that will, I'm not going to say make America great again. It never was. It was never not great. This is the greatest experiment of a nation that God has ever produced on the continent of the world. That this experiment, the melting pot of nations, was a design by I believe God, to demonstrate that it can work. The nations of the world can work together. And I believe that we saw that in this last election, in spite of the anger and the outrage. Now that can become a basis for, now we better do something about it, and we better do it right, so that when we get our turn at bat, we will structure an American way of life that will be beneficial and a blessing for the generations that will follow the millennial generation. That's how I view it.
And I think
I'm hopeful to that.
And I believe that you're very on point, Pastor. We're talking with Reverend Dr. Robert P. Shine, and we don't have a lot of time left with the show, but as we are coming to the end of the year, I am glad to say that I know that the best kind of party that you can have, the best kind of party that you could go to on New Year's Eve would be to a church party. And it took me years, Pastor, years to get that, to really understand that. In fact, I can remember the years when I would go to service on New Year's Eve, and I'd have my party dress on, sparkle dress and all that, and I'd keep the coat closed tight around my body because I didn't want Pastor or anyone else to know she's going to a party when she leaves here. And so I would keep that coat, tight. And now that I'm older and more mature and more understanding about life and understanding certainly about Bible and what God would have us do, there's no place to be, nothing like a Holy Ghost party on New Year's Eve or any other time for that matter.
Right.
So for people who are wondering, oh, what do? I don't know what to do on New Year's Eve. You got someplace for them to come. Tell us where.
Well, the Berachah Baptist Church doors will be open at 7 p.m. on New Year's Eve night for a Holy Ghost service. Now, I think the climate, the political climate, the social climate, the economic climate may be just reasons for people to say we need to get our lives right with God.
Yes.
And in doing so, let's crowd the church to begin the new year in the hope that it will be a better year than what we've just left. And though the weeping over the election, whomever was weeping, whoever felt sorrowful and painful, and it did pain others and incensed others, yet and still there is a God of hope and a God of promise. And so make yourself a promise to attend church on Sunday, the church of your choice, but be in church. We'd like to see any and all come to Berachah on New Year's Eve night, where we can celebrate the incoming of another year, and perhaps the year will be a year of prosperity, blessing, health, strength, jobs, justice, and better quality of education for all.
That's what's up, and that's what's up. Please give the address for your church.
In coming to the Berachah Baptist Church, it's located at 6327 Lime Kiln Pike in West Oak Lane.
Okay.
Looking forward to a great time on New Year's Eve.
All right, I thank you, Pastor. Really appreciate you so very much.
Thank you for having
and
me.
respect you greatly, and my love to your entire family. You all are awesome. And of course, as we close out, I want to invite you to my home church, the Solid Rock Baptist Church. We're at 1836 Federal Street in South Philadelphia, where Reverend Henry Busby is our senior pastor. And if you don't know what to do with yourself on New Year's Eve and you're in the South Philadelphia area, you are welcome to come to our church. The doors open at 9 p.m. and we'll be there till about 1 o'clock in the morning. You can also go to Mount Carmel Baptist Church. That's at 58th and Ray Streets in West Philadelphia, where Reverend Donald Moore is the senior pastor and Reverend Dr. Campbell is the pastor emeritus. They will have a watch night service on New Year's Eve as well. 10th Memorial Baptist Church in North Philadelphia. We've got Reverend William B. Moore over there, and he's having a watch night service. You can always go to Sharon Baptist Church at 3600 Conshohocken Avenue, where Reverend Dr. Keith Reed is the senior pastor, bishop, and they're having watch night service as well. And Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church, where Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller is the senior pastor. They're doing watch night service. A lot of churches around the community, some Catholic churches as well, some Methodists, some AMEs, they're having watch night service. Let's bring the new year in prayer, everybody. Remember, life is fragile. Handle it with prayer. Take care, everyone.